Next segment, Lawless. How are we? Easy in.
Get out of it, you Ian.
So,
I won't start swearing in the first 30 seconds.
so right after the intro music, we're actually going to talk about something that we've never talked about before in the podcast. And we've had this podcast set up since January 2020. And this podcast was originally built around this. But with COVID and the pandemic, we couldn't start it. We couldn't talk about it because we never had one until now. And that's a running event. So right after the intro music, we're getting straight into a running event that myself and Eric had a small part of yesterday as we record this podcast right after this. So since I talked about that at the very start of this podcast, next segment, Lawless. Yesterday, we were a small part of Dara's run, Dara being a special guest of the podcast last week as he ran 120K all the way along the Barrow Way in aid of Autism for Children. And I called you next segment, Lawless. Why did I call you that?
Listen, it was a busy day, right? But I'm just going to go. First of all, it was phenomenal to be a part of Dara's 117 kilometers along the Barrow. It was amazing. I got up out of bed and I went to meet him at the start line at 5:30, and I was like, I'm wrecked. I can only imagine how he feels. He's after driving up from Kilkenny an hour and a half to this, small town, Robertstown. You literally, if you blinked driving through it, you'd miss it. And here he is at 5:30 in the morning, bag on, just the thoughts of knowing it's 14 hours till I'm home. That is just
unbelievable.
I was going back to have breakfast and maybe get another hour kip before I moved on to meet him further on. Because let's be honest, and this is a ridiculous statement in itself, I knew he'd be okay for the first marathon. You know, I knew he'd be fine.
Unbelievable.
And he had company with him for the first 40K. The guy's name escapes me now, but he ran the first 36 with him. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal that he had the company for that. We picked him up there, and Rachel Smith, who was one of the previous podcast episodes, she came along. And the part of the agreement was like, sure, come on along and do a 5K here and a 5K there, and sure, we'll see how we go. And we were driving the car, but I hadn't quite got all the setup. I hadn't got the water. I hadn't got that. And I was like, right, Rachel, you're on the first one, so I'll get the next segment. So I kicked Rachel out of the car. Meanwhile, Dara's pretty much through his first marathon, not a bother him, all chat, all giggles. I'm looking at him sweating. I was getting sweaty just thinking about what he's done. So he headed off with Rachel then through the next segment onto a tie. We went and got extra waters in my body, stocked up in little pretty much with all what we might need for the rest of it. Rachel was feeling good, and she wanted to stay doing a little bit more. You know, she got to the 10K and she's like, "Oh, I'm feeling good." But what she didn't realize, if you were committing to do another segment, we weren't meeting you for another 10 kilometers. So you were signing up for a big run alone. So in fairness to Rachel, she kept going just shy of Carlo. And she got a half marathon in on the day. At that point, Dara had done a marathon and a half. So it was just phenomenal to see it going. When we got into just north of Carlo and south of Athy, we were waiting for Rachel and Dara to come through. And I was looking down, and I just seen this guy in high vis just coming, like he was in a high vis running top, sorry. He was coming like a train. I was like, whoa, this guy is moving. He must be doing a speed session or something. Came around the corner and she's like, you guys looking for Dara? I was like, yeah. I heard him on the radio yesterday. I'm going to run with him to Carlo. I was like,
fair play.
Fair play. So we ran the 8 kilometers from Carlo to meet us at this point. And then he was gonna run back to Carlo with Dara. So naturally enough, I said, "Oh, fair enough. I'll jump in the next segment."
Next segment,
So he headed on his way after a bit of food and made his way. Again, I have to say, phenomenally comfortable. He didn't have a bad word to say. He had family and friends meeting him in different points, and he'd always have a little chat with them and a giggle. And himself and Rachel talked nearly the whole way down. And then he had to entertain this stranger for another 8 kilometers to Carlow, and we were going to pick him up just after Carlow, and we said he's coming up on the nearly 2 marathon spot. So he was nearly, as he came through Carlow, almost at his second marathon. So we said we might give him the next 4 or 5K on his own and let him just take stock of how everything is and how the plan is going. So that was me kicking the segment down the road again. So I said, I get
of course it was.
So we got to the next segment in this beautiful. I have to say, the whole lot was beautiful. Like everywhere along the river was absolutely amazing. And it was one of our stories, and we had a little coffee. The lady gave us coffee to support Dara as well for his stop, and we got on our way then. So that's where I picked up. I actually started to run, and I was like, "Look, Sean said he'd be down a bit later."
Can I just clarify here? Because I had a couple of things to do that morning. I'm catching it on Instagram, and there's a picture of you and Dara beside you are having the coffee. And I felt bad because I'm like, Eric's probably done 10, 15, 20K at this stage now. And he's having a coffee with Dara, and I know well on their way. Not knowing that you hadn't even started running yet with him. You were passing on to the next segment.
Next segment. Well, I knew once my clock started, that was it. I only had a certain amount of kilometers in me.
True.
But so anyway, I did start, and then we run into the next town, and I'm feeling good, and I'm thinking I might see you in the next place and then let you take it on, because he had more friends who were local to his area that were going to come in. So from where I started, it was about 30 kilometers to go to that point. And the idea was we just don't let him be on his own. You know, like there could be any, especially as you know from doing it, Sean, with us through some of them segments, if anything happened to you, no one's walking by for a long time. You know, there is parts of it. Now we were tracking them, so if we did see him stop for a long time, you'd kind of question if there was something going on. But
it would have taken a while to get there, though.
Exactly, yeah. You'd have to track in, and it's only accessed by foot mostly, you know. So, so it was nice not to let him go. And then once you get to that point where he's meeting his friend, it's mostly communal kind of tracks and a lot of walks, and you're getting closer to the bigger towns along the Barrow. But so I met you 6 kilometers later, and I was acting like I'd ran a half marathon already. Sean and wrecked. And then myself and yourself kept going, and we met his buddy Jerry then, and that was time for me to bow out. I was struggling, but I couldn't tell Dara I was struggling. I was in a heap, but I was like, all's going well. Keep going, Dara. Like I was through a half marathon, 26K, and I was in bits. And this guy was after. I was like, how are you feeling there? He got to 96 kilometers and he just turned and said, I'm starting to feel it now. I was like, well, I fucking hope you're starting to feel it now. You're 6 kilometers in. I'm feeling it after 22.
You played it off so well, though, because at that point you turned around to me and I was going to keep going till you kept going, because I couldn't bow out when you would start running before me. It's like, right, I'll keep going till Eric goes, and if all his friends comes in, then I'll bow out there as well. And then you were like, Sean, have you got another 6K in you? I was thinking, like, he's saying, right, we'll keep going next 6K. I was like, yeah, no, I think I do. I'm comfortable. I'm doing all right. You're like, right, I'll bow out here this next segment, so you keep going with Dara. I'm like, yeah, well done there, mate.
Well, in fairness, you did owe the 6K. I had done the extra, so we had to balance it out. I did say, I was like, that way me and you will be even for the day. And to be fair, without actually knowing, we were within 250 meters of the exact same distance covered for the day, which was great for us, so we can't really abuse each other.
Exactly.
But it was great. It was great to be a part of it. And then, like you said, when we picked up his friend Jerry, it was nice just to let him be with the lads he knows and the people he knows, and we got him through the long segment where it's hard for people to come and support if they haven't got the day and stuff, you know. So it was nice to be part of the experience all the way down. It really was.
At the same time, though, when we were running, it was almost like he was doing the favor rather than we are, because he was there giving us a tour of the Barrow and all the fields, and I wish I'd done more research and exactly what you said about the man with no arm and no legs, and his crazy stories are something I can't think of his name, but because I have to look into it. It's incredible stories, and all the rest, all the houses and these mad 2-story log cabins and stuff along the River Barrow. I was like, my God, like he's been a great tour guide right here. There's a business in there for him to do runs along that Barrow and do that kind of stuff. So, that was incredible.
As long as you're willing to run the length of it, you'll get a great tour.
But then coming into Greg Manor, is it?
Greg Manor,
I'd never heard of this town before, and it was definitely part of the country I'd never been in, and I was glad we bowed out there because we took a step back as a great community atmosphere as they were over the bridge, seeing him and his mate coming in there, and the few points were coming in, and he still had 6-7K to go, and there he is sculling half a pint of Guinness before going ahead. I was like, man, if I even took a sip of Guinness, knowing I had another 7K, I definitely, my head would be over into the river, puking up along the way, especially with the distance he'd done. But that community atmosphere that was there for him, and everyone kind of knew everyone, and you could see it in the house afterwards, people popping in and congratulating him. Like that was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it was actually really good. And I suppose the best part for us being the outsiders to the town, I suppose, was we saw what it meant to the people of the town, the local school, the autism school, what it means to them to have awareness raised about it. And it was phenomenal. It was great to actually listen to people kind of coming out and saying things about kids that have autism, you know, stuff that they're more comfortable to talk about now. And you know, it means a lot. You know, he's raised we're up to nearly 6,000 now raised, and it's still going. It's still going, and it's absolutely amazing.
It's over the 6, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. But what it did for the community in terms of talking about it and raising awareness about it, and how tough it is on families with kids with autism, and it's absolutely amazing. And what he done to his own body for the day is astronomical. We were taking bets early in the day of how many calories he'd burn over the course of the day, and 11,000 calories by the time he's still sitting around chatting to us in his garden that evening. Like, can I get you another drink? We were like, would you sit down?
Sit, relax, pal. He made up for those calories afterwards because Ian put up a hell of a spread afterwards with the lasagnas and the chicken pies and the steak pies, and I was feeling bad eating them and a few beers and all the rest. I'm like, all the dara.
Yeah, I couldn't help but feel bad if I sat down, if I ate, if I even looked at a drink. I was like, I don't deserve anything. I was like, this man has just done 120 kilometers.
I was stiffing up a little bit ahead of the house. Like my legs and stuff were a little bit sore. I'm like, Sean, walk properly. Don't you dare limp into this house at all. No, sell this 100%. Don't dare limp in. You have done a fifth of what he's done. You haven't been awake as many hours as he has ran today. Stop it. Walk properly in there.
Yeah, it was.
Sit down. It's not a bun on you.
Yeah, it was. And I incredible. I have to say, I slept the best I've slept in a long time. Now, it was a long day, like, you know, in and out of cars, but to do what he did, like, I slept like a log and got out of bed late today. And he still sent a text into the group thanking everyone way before I'd even considered waking up. You know, like, he's a phenomenal human and a phenomenal achievement. And I suppose, as you agree, Sean, any long run will humble anyone. But to run a long run alongside someone who's doing a very long run will humble you even more. It's absolutely amazing to go as long as you can, to feel the pain and go, oh, I'm sore, and know he has done so much more. It just humbles you. You just swallow that, whatever it is that's surfacing, that fight that's coming up, going, you know, you stop, you're a bit sore, it's just like, shut up, this man has done so much.
Yeah. Well, when you're sitting there we're sitting there, you was talking about calories, like, I'll update the Garmin and stuff, and it popped up on Strava, whatever, and I was eating lasagna, and then another pop-up came and goes, congratulations, you've just ran 100K this month. And I was like, this month? And I looked over, there's Dara there drinking Guinness and talking to his mates, and not a bother, and me just sitting there on the bench going, this month he ran more than that in a day. I felt useless.
Yeah. Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. And the best part was to see people coming out and supporting. We a couple of men came out with Lucozades and dairy milks to hit him up in one of the towns. You know, everyone was just coming out to clap him in any way they could, and their kids were coming out with signs, and it was absolutely brilliant. And it was actually such a lovely day. And I have to say, he got so lucky in the day that was in it, because it remained overcast. If that sun had came out, he would have. I hope he wouldn't, but I'd imagine when the sun's directly beating on you for 100 kilometers, there's a different kind of suffering there, and I'm glad he didn't have to endure that as well.
Yeah, and especially the way he was running on. Well, I got there anyway. Like when the sun started coming out at 6 o'clock, you could tell there was no shade where he was running. It would have just hit him the whole way had he been running that way. Pretty
Now,
much the whole
I
way.
say that, but the sun did come out with a half marathon to go. So
yeah,
he still had to endure a half marathon in blistering sunshine straight onto him
after doing
after he was
100k.
expended everything. Yeah, so it's still horrific. It was like, just hold off another hour, son, and then we'll look at you. But it was phenomenal because so I stopped, and about 10 minutes later, the sun came solid, and I was like, oh, he's a half marathon to go, and that's not good. But it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Yeah,
mentality, because you hear about like marathons, you hear like, and we've both gone through them, where there's a certain point in the marathon where you go into that dark place, and it's, you just got to keep going, find the way, keep going, keep pushing towards the finish. And running next to him, I know he ran for the 26k, like, there never seemed to be that dark place. He just seemed to be in good spirits all the way down. And
if he was
phenomenal.
If he was beating the demons, he wasn't letting us know that he was.
No.
Until that one time, he just said, yeah, lads, I'm starting to feel it at 96.5 kilometers. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. And he was like, oh, this building here and that building there. And, he knew every blade of grass along that river. He's practiced and he has trained and he has had it in the legs, but it was brilliant. It was amazing. It's the only way to describe it. And I just wish more people come out to witness it, to just be a part of it. Anyone he ran past, knowing how far he had come, was just blown away, was absolutely blown away by it. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Fantastic. I don't know what else to really say on it. It's just phenomenal, fantastic. Those words just keep coming to my mind on it. It's a bit surreal to see, that distance that he covered in that day. Like, it was just an unbelievable achievement. And like you said, hearing the stories, I was up once or twice hearing a couple of stories about, just people in the area and autism and all the rest of it, and what people have to go through, and them to have those conversations now was, was just really was just something else.
Yeah, it's it's mad that, well, in one sense, it takes a guy to run 120 kilometers and try and punish himself for conversations to happen. But it's amazing that he's done it. It's amazing that it can leave an impact in the community, and hopefully, the money raised will work well for those kids involved. And it's and the raising still continues. You still can. He's leaving it up for another little bit longer, so you still can donate if you are listening and you haven't heard. It's absolutely phenomenal. You can go onto his GoFundMe page, and you can find all the links through his page. And he's Barrow _Valley _runner. And you can see some of the events of the day. But it was brilliant. It was great to be a part of. And as you said, it was humbling. I don't think I'll be doing 120 kilometers on foot. I might do it on a bike, but that'll be about it. I even think that's far on a bike. I can't imagine just running all that, but it's been fun.
It was a long drive back.
Yeah, it was an hour and a half back. And he only started running 2 years ago.
It's incredible.
That's the key takeaway for anyone who's listening and thinking he's some sort of superhuman doing it since he's a kid. He only started this journey 2 years ago, and 3 marathons back to back in a day is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and to be able to be on his feet for 14 hours and keep that going is just
yeah. He had it right, and look, we didn't bring him back on today because I think he needed a day off to not talk about that run.
We're recording this podcast at as we're recording now, it's nearly 9:30 on a Sunday evening, and I know he was getting someone in the area, actually speaking to the community, offered to sort him out with a couple of massages, stuff like that. I think he tagged him on Instagram or Facebook. I can't remember the physio's name now, to look after him next morning. I'd say he needed that start walking again and that. So, we could not ask him to come on the podcast and all that. That man deserves a rest for another couple of days. I don't think we see, like, if you're ever going to top the Any Given Run Day leaderboard for running next week's a chance to do it, because I don't think he's going to be clocking up.
Dara's
because Dara's been on top for the majority of those months there at the moment, and he's definitely on top of the leaderboard tomorrow. I can well assure you of that one.
Yeah, it's he's hopefully going quiet for a couple of days, give us a chance anyway. But I'm sure he won't mind us saying to thank you to everyone who did support and share and donate and just get involved. He greatly appreciated. We greatly appreciated everything everyone was doing for him, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant to be a part of. So he will be on again, I'm sure, to thank everyone himself when we finished the donations and stuff. So it was absolutely brilliant, and yeah, thank you to everyone who did send him on his wishes and who is listening today.
And thanks to Dara himself, if he's listening, just to let us be a small part of what he achieved yesterday, was because I had a phenomenal day yesterday to go through all that. It was just incredible meeting everyone and going along that route, and everything that was involved in that day was it was a hell of an event. A hell of an event.
Hell of an event. But thanks, Dara. Yeah, it was great to be a part of it and letting us into your little world there. It was brilliant. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and I think be heading down that we talked about a half marathon down there, the big what was a Hell Hill or something, Mountain Hill or a Mountain Hill.
Yeah, there is a hill in the back of Dara's, so we'll put it out there, and if people are interested, there is a mountain. It's about 550-meter elevation from Dara's house, or just in the town, the center of the town, to the top of the hill and back is 13.1 miles. So you never know what could come in the future.
Made for a half marathon. Another thing we're going to do in this week's podcast was talk about Dublin Marathon, but because the announcement was supposed to come the previous Friday for whether it was going ahead and got put off 2-3 weeks, and we can argue different things in that, but sure, look, it's up in the air at this stage, and it's very easy to judge sitting down here on whether the marathon should go ahead or not. But I guess in a couple of weeks we will find out. But that doesn't mean that people can't train for it. I saw different arguments for and against whether the marathon should go ahead this year. But the one thing I totally disagreed with was, people can't train for the marathon right now because they don't know if it's going ahead. It's like, well, one, it's only 2 weeks until they're definitely going to say July 15th. And two, let's say you do train for 2 weeks and you're starting your marathon plan. And in 2 weeks ahead of time, they say, you know what, it's just virtual this year. Is that really a bad thing? Because even if you don't do the virtual marathon this year, you've still done 2 weeks training. And by my book, 2 weeks training is definitely not a bad thing. It is a good thing. So, we've got 16, 17 weeks now heading up towards marathon. Why not get out there? And if it is your goal to do a marathon this year, or even to build up your running this year, why not now? The weather is pretty good out there. If anything, it might be slightly too hot, but sure, it can never be perfect, the weather. Why not now use that time to build up and get some miles and legs and start becoming a better, more confident runner? Yeah,
look, so I totally agree with you. Anyone who's like, next year the marathon's not on, you're just an excuse merchant. If that's your attitude towards something that may or may not happen, you're not going to get yourself through a marathon. So to be able to do a marathon is something that has to come from you. You have to want to do it. You have to want. And if you can, without an event, start putting miles into your legs, you're just going to build a lifestyle around running. You're going to start building that into your everyday routine. And then when the winter months start to come in, you're not going to want to run. So we always say it as well, like we do the winter miles for summer smiles, because we know there's big events coming. If you're getting into the triathlon season, it's starting in around the May, June time, you need to be coming up for the races. So that's why you're training through the winter. But for the Dublin Marathon, it's in October. You have to put yourself through the peaks and troughs. Everyone's there for the summer body. Why not do it for Christmas? Why not put yourself into a good position?
All year round.
Yeah, to be in a very fit position coming into your Christmas holidays, and the turkey tastes better when you've put in a lot of miles. Like, it really, really does. And I think people need to kind of look at that seriously and say, what do you want to talk? Do you want to call yourself a marathon runner? If you do want to do that, you can't be waiting on an event to be organized for you. Like, Dara organized his own event and ran 120 kilometers. He didn't get a medal at the end. It's not about the medal. It's what you want to achieve. People want to go out and achieve. Now, don't get me wrong. It is fantastic. And we always say it's great to be part of the event. Nothing will beat the event. But if you want to run a marathon, technology is that good now that you don't need a medal to show that you've run a marathon. You can put the watch on. You can have Strava on. You can get it done. The marathon itself runs a virtual marathon. It is something. But I would highly recommend, if you're considering the marathon, and maybe you don't want to go all the way, that's fair enough. Because the support network with a marathon is required.
Yes.
But at least push yourself to go to a half. Anyone can run a half marathon on their own setup. It's You might have to get a little running bag to carry your own water, and it's on your back. But anyone can do a half marathon if they start now and put themselves through it. And maybe that's a good step for people. If you're like, no, I'll wait till next year to try the first marathon. Why don't you try train for a half marathon this year? See how that feels. And then when you get more and more comfortable, then you know what's expected of you for next year. It'll be a good trial run. And like you said, 2 weeks of training is not 2 weeks wasted. If you're getting onto the marathon training session now, you're only going to benefit. That like let's be honest, there's barbecues and beers being had, so why not add in a bit of running as well?
100%. Get fitter, get healthier. And at the same time, if like when I talk about the marathon, and I've nothing to train for. If your only thing, and because I know about yourself, but I've done it before, made a mistake. If you build it all about just crossing that finish line, and you don't take account the process, the journey, and the ups and downs you just talked about a second ago. If you don't embrace that, and all you're thinking is just finishing and just the medal and nothing else around it except just the end of that race, you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to get through it, and it's not going to get you out there on days you don't want to get out there. You have to enjoy the ups and downs, and running. In some cases you kind of have to just expect that pain that kind of comes with running, because not every run's going to be a great run. There's some you're going to feel it more than others. But if you're not embracing that journey and building towards something, it's very hard to, because at the end of a marathon, let's face it, there's 20,000 people there. Everyone gets the exact same medal at the end of the day. If you haven't enjoyed that journey coming up to it and everything that's built around it, and that support network, then you're not going to get as much out of it. Just like myself and yourself didn't get much out of the first one we did.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you're getting a medal for finish 7,000 or 10,000, or it's it's a medal to it's to signify just doing it, and I feel for the guy at the Foil Arms and Hogs do a great skit on the marathon. I watched it over the last while. Like he comes back in and he's like, "Oh, so where did you finish?" "Oh, like 8,000." He's like, "And they gave me a medal." So it's I feel bad for the guy that won it, because everyone after him got a medal anyway. But it isn't about the finish line. It's not about the medal. It's about proving to yourself that you can have one consistency, one mental power, physical strength. You have to have all that kind of endurance. You need to it has to come from within. Like you have to be consistent at it. You can't just show up and run a marathon. People do show up and run marathons.
People suffer though. People that do that suffer. They suffer for months afterwards. Raising my hand up there.
Yeah. So it's but it's definitely something that's worth doing. And a lot of people do it for their kids or do it for their family, or they have something that really wants to get them out and to do it. And it will change their lives. A marathon there's one thing a marathon will do. It will change your life, whether it's good, bad. You'll never do it again. It changed our lives, because we went to dark places, good places, and it's phenomenal, and we're still doing it now.
Yeah, I told people before, anyone that ever listened to me, and I have blogs up on my my website and all to prove it, that the whole thing about doing the marathon the first time was a one and done to tell people never do it again. And all of a sudden I got hooked on it and wanting to do it and build more. And the more that by the time I did it the third time, I started to embrace the journey more. I started to enjoy it. I started to become more confident doing the running, because of all the mistakes and stuff that I made before, and mistakes that we've talked about consistently on this podcast as well as our Instagram page. And guys, if it is something you're listening to us go, you know what, I don't think I could ever do that, or you want to start building yourself up to that, but don't know where to start. Genuinely do recommend checking out our website, anygiventrainingday.com. We've just updated the entire website, and through there, you'll see different links and stuff. We'll be able to get onto the coaches there and see, okay, if I was to go with your training plan, exactly what would happen. How would I go from step A to step, whatever that's marathon, half marathon, your first 10K, whatever it is, and build yourself up along the way. And that's what that training program is all about, building yourself up to become a more confident runner, starting out doing your running. If you've done 6, 7, 8 marathons, you probably don't need this training plan. But if you want to build yourself up to start running, and you're like, keep putting it off, and you're not too sure where to start, and you get something like the announcements the other day saying, oh, there's a delay in whether the marathon's going to happen this year. I'm like, I don't know if I can put myself through the training. Getting that accountability is half the battle, and that's what this will provide for you.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's definitely worth something. Even people are paying their gym memberships and they're doing everything else. Like that is what you're paying for. You're paying for someone that's going to hound you to get you over that line, I suppose, and give you the support in your training to get you to the start line. Anyway, what you do in the day is unfortunately entirely up to you.
And has been through that process before and has coached other people through that process before. And that's the big key there as well. And for listening to us talk about this for the last 30 minutes, if you go through that process with a coach and they tell you exactly how what the step-by-step to go through that training program, and you get the app and everything else to go with it, if you do sign up, if you put in podcast 20 in that checkout link, and we'll have that in the show notes just for you guys listening, we will have 20% off for your training program, whether it is for the 6 weeks or for the entire marathon. And that training program starts next Monday, July 5th.
That was good. I'm still shook from yesterday, though.
Well, I'm shook too. I'm not going to lie. I'm still a little bit stiff and sore. I have to hold my hands up on that one. But with that said, as we record this, it's 9:30, 9:45. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We got to pass this on to a producer to edit the whole thing and put in the intro music and all the rest. So, easy ye. I'm going to have to bow out of this podcast right now.
Yeah, thanks to everyone again. And hopefully I can speak on behalf of Dara. Thanks for everyone who supported it. It really was a fantastic day. And we look forward to more events in the future that we can be a part of, and more events that we'll be running ourselves. It's the first step forward, and really looking forward to what's to come out in the next few weeks.
Unbelievable. On that note, Dara, congrats once again. Guys, thanks for listening to this week's podcast. That's it for myself and Eric. Take care.
Bye.